Big Shaq sees pregnant woman. Working in heat, what happens next is pure kindness. The summer heat pounded down on Mill Street like a hammer. Tom Big Shaq Wilson wiped sweat from his brow as he walked past the small shops of Brookfield. Standing, 6'7" with shoulders like a wardrobe, the former basketball player made quite a sight in this quiet town. People often stared at Tom, but today his eyes were fixed on something else. Across the road, a heavily pregnant woman struggled with heavy fruit boxes outside a tiny market stall. Her face was red and wet with sweat. Every few moments she stopped to catch her breath, one hand on her back, the other trying to set up her display. Something in Tom's chest tightened as he watched. The scene brought back memories of his own mother, who had worked at the post office while carrying his younger brother years ago. He still remembered how tired she looked coming home each night. Without thinking twice, Tom crossed the street. As he got closer, he could see the woman's hands shaking slightly from effort. Her simple dress was damp with sweat, and a small fan nearby did little to cool the air. "Hello there," Tom said, his deep voice gentle. "This heat is terrible for anyone to be working in, especially someone expecting." The woman, Lucy, according to her name tag, looked up, clearly surprised by the giant figure now blocking the sun. Her eyes showed a flash of worry before she straightened up. "I'm doing fine, thank you," she said, wincing as she bent down for another box of apples. Tom smiled kindly. "I'm sure you are. But my mom would have my head if she knew I walked past. Someone working this hard in this heat without offering help. Would you mind if I lend a hand for a bit?" Lucy hesitated. Tom could see the battle playing out on her face. Pride against practical need. After a moment, she nodded slowly. "Just for a few minutes then," she said. "These boxes need to go under the table with the ripe fruit on top." Tom set to work, arranging the fruit with surprising care for hands so large. He stacked boxes, set up the display, and fixed the wobbly table that held her cash box. While Lucy watched with a mixture of relief and wonder. A few customers stopped by, looking curiously at the odd pair. Tom would step back, letting Lucy handle the money and talk to the buyers. He understood this was her living, not a charity case. "That's Frank Wilson's boy, isn't it?" An older lady whispered loudly to Lucy as she picked out some pears. "The one who went off to play basketball in the big city?" Lucy looked at Tom with new interest. "Is that true?" she asked when the customer left. Tom nodded simply. "Played for 8 years before my knee gave out. Now I coach at the school." As the morning went on, Lucy slowly shared bits of her story. Her husband Bill had hurt his back working at the factory 3 months ago. With a baby coming in 6 weeks and bills piling up, she had no choice but to take over their fruit stand. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing right by this little one," she said quietly, one hand resting on her belly. "Working so hard before it's even here." Tom arranged peaches in neat rows. "My mom always said that working hard to give your child a good life is never something to feel bad about." By midday, the stand looked better than it had in weeks. The display was neat, the shade cover fixed properly, and a sign with prices hung, clearly for all to see. But more importantly, Lucy had been able to rest her feet for the first time in days. "Why are you really helping me?" Lucy finally asked as Tom fixed the wheel on her cart. "There are lots of people having hard times in Brookfield." Tom straightened up, thinking for a moment. His kind eyes met hers. "Because someone once helped my mother when she needed it most," he said simply. "And that small kindness changed our whole family's path." The end. Big Shaq sees pregnant woman. Working in heat, what happens next is pure kindness. Word spread quickly through Brookfield about the tall man helping at Lucy's fruit stand. By afternoon, more customers stopped by than usual. Some came just to look at Tom, but most ended up buying something. "Best apples in the county," Tom would say with a warm smile when people looked curious. "And the lady who runs this place works harder than anyone I know." An old man with a walking stick came by and chuckled at the sight of giant Tom carefully, arranging tiny berries. "Never thought I'd see Frank Wilson's boy back in town, let alone selling fruit," he said, picking out some plums. "Your dad would be proud seeing you helping folks." Tom just nodded politely. He didn't talk much about his father, who had passed away 5 years ago. By 3 o'clock, Lucy had sold almost all her stock. Her tired face now showed something new. Hope. "I haven't had a day this good in months," she said, counting the money in her cash box. "Bill won't believe it when I tell him." Tom smiled, pleased to see her spirits lifting. "People know good fruit when they see it, and now they can actually see what you're selling, with everything nicely arranged. Just..." Then a well-dressed woman approached the stand. She looked at the nearly empty display with disappointment. "Oh dear, have I missed all the good stuff?" she asked. Lucy started to apologize, but the woman waved her hand. "No need to be sorry for success. I'm Helen Porter. I own the cafe just down the road." She handed Lucy a business card. "I've been looking for someone local to supply fresh fruit for my kitchen. Would you be interested?" Lucy's eyes widened. "Supply? For the cafe? Every day?" Helen nodded. "We need reliable quality, and from what I've heard today, that's exactly what you provide. We can start small if you like, but I'd need deliveries 3 times a week." As Lucy and Helen discussed details, Tom quietly stepped away to give them space. He busied himself with cleaning up, feeling a warm glow of satisfaction. This was turning into much more than just helping with heavy boxes. When Helen left, Lucy stood staring at the business card, tears in her eyes. "Are you all right?" Tom asked gently. Lucy nodded, wiping her cheeks. "More than all right, this could change everything for us. With a regular order from Porter's Cafe, we'd have steady money coming in. I could even hire someone to help with deliveries until Bill's back is better." She looked up at Tom, her eyes serious. "None of this would have happened if you hadn't stopped this morning." Tom shrugged his big shoulders. "You never know what small things can lead to. My old coach used to say that life is just a series of passes. You never know which one leads to the winning shot." As the afternoon cooled slightly, more customers came by. News of Lucy's deal with Porter's Cafe traveled fast in the small town. People seemed genuinely happy for her success. Mary from the bookshop brought over a cold drink for both of them. James from the hardware store stopped by to say he could fix Lucy's wobbly cartwheel properly. Even the town doctor passed by, giving Lucy some advice about working while pregnant and promising to check on Bill's back. Tom watched all this with quiet pleasure. Brookfield had always been a place where people looked out for each other. Sometimes, they just needed a reminder. As the sun began to dip lower, Lucy started packing up the few remaining items. She had tried several times during the day to pay Tom, or at least give him free fruit, but he always politely refused. "Why don't you take some pears for your trouble?" she tried again. "Or at least let me pay you something for all your help." Tom shook his head. "The way I see it, I just passed along a kindness that was given to my family once. No payment needed." Lucy looked at him curiously. "What do you mean?" Tom carefully folded the cloth that had covered the display. "That's a story for another day," he said with a smile. "Right now you should head home and put your feet up. Big day tomorrow with that cafe order to prepare." The end. Big Shaq sees pregnant woman. Working in heat, what happens next is pure kindness. The next morning, Tom arrived at Lucy's fruit stand early. He found her already there, looking tired but happy as she set up her display. "You didn't have to come back," Lucy said, surprised to see him. "You've done more than enough already." Tom smiled. "Thought you might need help with the first cafe order. Those boxes won't lift themselves." Lucy looked relieved. "Actually, I was worried about that. Bill tried to get out of bed to help me this morning, but his back seized up again. The doctor says he needs at least another month of rest." They worked, side by side, preparing the special order for Porter's Cafe. Tom noticed Lucy moved more slowly today, her hand often going to her lower back. "How are you feeling?" he asked quietly. Lucy sighed. "The baby was kicking all night. Doctor says only 5 more weeks to go, but it feels like forever." As they worked, more of Lucy's story came out. She and Bill had moved to Brookfield 3 years ago, looking for a quieter life after living in the city. They had saved for years to buy the small farm where they grew some of their fruit. The rest they bought from other local farmers to sell at their stand. It was all going well until Bill's accident, Lucy explained. Now the medical bills keep piling up. This cafe deal might just save us. By mid-morning, the order for Porter's Cafe was ready. The problem was getting it there. I usually walk the cart over, Lucy said, looking worriedly at the heavy load. But with this much, I'll take it, Tom offered immediately. Just show me where to go. As they walked slowly through town, pushing the loaded cart, many people called out greetings. Tom noticed how everyone seemed to know Lucy, and how genuinely pleased they were about her good fortune with the cafe deal. Helen Porter was delighted with the delivery. She inspected each piece of fruit carefully, nodding with approval. Perfect, she said, handing Lucy an envelope. Same order for Friday, then? On the walk back, Lucy was quiet, holding the envelope tightly. Everything all right? Tom asked. More than all right, she whispered. Helen paid extra, said it was an advance to help us get organized for regular deliveries. She looked up at Tom with tears in her eyes. This will cover Bill's medicine for the whole month. Back at the fruit stand, business was steady all day. Tom noticed that Lucy sat down whenever possible, her face showing the strain of pregnancy and worry. During a quiet moment, Tom finally shared his story. When I was 10, he began, my mom was pregnant with my sister. Dad had just lost his job at the factory. Mom kept working at the post office even though she was 8 months along. Lucy listened intently as Tom continued. One day, old Mr. Green came in to collect his pension. He saw how exhausted Mom was. Instead of just leaving, he came back the next day with a letter. It was a job offer for Dad at his son's company. That job changed everything for us. Mr. Green sounds like a good man, Lucy said softly. Tom nodded. The thing is, he didn't have to help. He could have collected his money and gone home, but he chose to see someone struggling and do something about it. Just then, a fancy car pulled up near the fruit stand. A well-dressed man stepped out, looking around with interest. Good afternoon, he said, approaching the stand. I'm Robert Taylor, owner of Taylor's Family Restaurants. Helen Porter is my cousin. She told me about your wonderful fruit. Lucy straightened up, suddenly nervous. Yes, we just made our first delivery to her cafe today. Robert smiled. Helen has excellent taste. I'm opening 3 new restaurants in the county next month, and I need reliable local suppliers. Would you be interested in discussing a contract? Lucy gasped softly. A contract? For all 3 restaurants? If your quality stays this good, absolutely, Robert confirmed. We could start with weekly deliveries and see how it goes. As Lucy and Robert discussed details, Tom again stepped back, watching another door open because of one small act of kindness. The end. Big Shaq sees pregnant woman. Working in heat. What happens next is pure kindness. Over the next 2 weeks, Tom became a regular helper at Lucy's fruit stand. The business grew quickly with the cafe order and the promise of the restaurant contract. Lucy's husband, Bill, even managed to visit the stand one afternoon, walking slowly with a cane. His eyes filled with tears when he saw how well things were going. I don't know how to thank you, Bill said to Tom, his voice rough with emotion. Lucy tells me none of this would have happened without your help. Tom shook his head. I just lifted some boxes. Lucy did all the hard work. One hot afternoon, Mrs. Jenkins from the town council stopped by the fruit stand. She watched Tom and Lucy work together for a while before speaking up. The summer market festival is coming up next month, she said. We have a spot that just opened up. Would you be interested, Lucy? It would mean 3 days of selling to crowds from all over the county. Lucy's eyes widened. The festival? But those spots are given out months in advance. Mrs. Jenkins smiled. The Baker family had to pull out. Their son is getting married that weekend. The committee voted to offer you the spot. Your fruit stand has become quite the talk of the town. After Mrs. Jenkins left, Lucy turned to Tom with shining eyes. Do you see what's happening? It's like one good thing keeps leading to another. Tom smiled. Sometimes people just need a little help to get the ball rolling. Later that day, Tom noticed Lucy looking particularly tired. Her face was pale and she kept shifting uncomfortably on her stool. "Why don't you go home early?" he suggested. "I can handle things here for the rest of the afternoon." Lucy started to protest but then winced, holding her side. "Maybe you're right. The baby's been extra active today." Tom helped her gather her things. "I'll close up properly, don't worry." After Lucy left, Tom continued serving customers and tidying the stand. Old Mrs. Harper bought some apples and lingered to chat. "You've done a wonderful thing here," she said, looking at Tom with kind eyes. "This town is always taken care of its own, but sometimes we need someone to remind us how." Tom was about to answer when his phone rang. It was Lucy's husband, Bill, his voice tight with worry. "Lucy's gone into labor," Bill said. "The baby's coming early. She's asking for you." Tom quickly closed the fruit stand and rushed to the small local hospital. He found Bill pacing in the waiting room, his face lined with worry. "The doctor says she's doing fine, but I can't help being scared," Bill admitted. "The baby isn't due for another 3 weeks." Tom sat with Bill for hours, listening to his fears and hopes. He learned more about Lucy and Bill's dream of raising their child in this small town, about the farm they were slowly building, and about how close they had come to losing everything after Bill's accident. Just before midnight, a nurse appeared, with a tired smile. "Congratulations, Mr. Parker. You have a healthy baby girl. Your wife is asking for you, and for Tom, too, if he's still here." They found Lucy propped up in bed, looking exhausted but radiant. In her arms was a tiny bundle, with a shock of dark hair. "Meet Emma Grace Parker," Lucy said softly. 7 pounds, 2 ounces, and apparently too impatient to wait for her due date. Bill carefully took his daughter, tears streaming down his face. After a moment, he looked up at Tom. "We want you to be her godfather," he said. "If you're willing." Tom felt his throat tighten with emotion. "Me? But you hardly know me." Lucy reached out to take his hand. "We know enough. We know you're the kind of man who stops to help a stranger for no reason other than it's the right thing to do. That's exactly the kind of person we want in our daughter's life." As Tom looked down at tiny Emma, her little hand curled around his finger, he thought about chains of kindness, how one small act could lead to another, and then another, weaving people together in unexpected ways. The end. Big Shaq sees pregnant woman. Working in heat. What happens next is pure kindness. 3 months passed quickly in Brookfield. Autumn brought cooler days and changing leaves. The Summer Market Festival had been a huge success for Lucy and Bill's fruit business. With Tom's help, they had sold more in those 3 days than in a whole month at their regular stand. Baby Emma was growing well, with chubby cheeks and curious eyes. Lucy often brought her to the fruit stand in a small carrier, where customers would coo and fuss over her. Emma seemed to bring even more business. People came for fruit but stayed to peek at the baby. Tom remained a steady presence, helping out 3 days a week when he wasn't busy coaching basketball at the school. The children he coached often stopped by the fruit stand after practice, politely buying apples or pears with their pocket money. On a crisp October morning, Tom arrived at the fruit stand to find Lucy looking excited. She handed him an envelope as soon as he approached. "What's this?" Tom asked, opening it carefully. Inside was a simple card with a picture of baby Emma on the front. Inside, neat handwriting read, "Grand opening, Parker Family Farm Shop. This Saturday. You made this possible." Tom looked up, confused. "Farm shop? What farm shop?" Lucy's eyes sparkled. "Remember that empty building at the edge of our property? The one that used to be a storage shed? Bill has been fixing it up for weeks whenever his back allows. With the money from the restaurant contract, we've turned it into a proper shop. We'll sell our fruit there, plus jams that Bill's mother is making, and bread from the local bakery." Tom was speechless. When he had stopped to help Lucy those months ago, he never imagined it would lead to this. "There's more," Lucy continued. "The bank approved our loan yesterday. We're going to expand the farm next spring, plant more trees. Bill won't have to go back to the factory job that hurt his back." Tom felt a lump in his throat. "That's wonderful news," he managed to say. "None of this would have happened without you. Lucy said softly. One simple act of kindness changed our whole lives. That Saturday, it seemed the entire town turned out for the opening of Parker Family Farm Shop. The small building gleamed with fresh paint. Inside, wooden shelves displayed fruit, homemade jams, and local honey. In one corner, a small play area had been set up for Emma as she grew older. Bill, now walking without his cane, proudly showed people around. His back was much better, and the joy of their new business seemed to give him extra strength. Mayor Thompson came to cut the ribbon. Before doing so, he asked for everyone's attention. Today we celebrate not just a new business in our town, but the power of community, he said. When Tom Wilson stopped to help Lucy Parker on that hot summer day, he wasn't thinking about reward or recognition. He was simply being the kind of neighbor we all should be. The mayor turned to Tom, who shifted uncomfortably under all the attention. Tom, would you do us the honor of cutting this ribbon? This shop exists because of your kindness. Red-faced but smiling, Tom stepped forward and cut the ribbon. Cheers and applause filled the air. Later, as the crowd enjoyed free apple cider and samples of Mrs. Parker's jam, Lucy found Tom sitting quietly on a bench outside the shop. Baby Emma was asleep in his arms, her tiny hand wrapped around his large finger. I have something for you, Lucy said, sitting beside him. She handed him a small wooden sign. Tom read the words carved into the wood. Parker Family Farm, where a single act of kindness grew into something wonderful. We're hanging it above the door tomorrow, Lucy explained. We want everyone who comes here to know the story. Tom looked down at sleeping Emma, then at the thriving business around him, and finally at Lucy's happy face. My mother always told me that kindness creates ripples we can't see, he said quietly. I think she was right. As the autumn sun began to set, casting golden light across the small farm, Tom thought about chains of goodness. How Mr. Green had helped his family years ago, how he had helped Lucy, and how Lucy and Bill would surely help others in turn. Some debts, Tom knew, can never be repaid directly. They can only be passed forward, creating endless ripples of kindness in a world that needs them. The end.